In this video, we will talk about two military strategies, Israel's asymmetrical battlefield tactics and Hamas's guerrilla warfare strategy. Like, how will the IDF react to an ambush? The soldiers will disembark from the Namr fighting vehicle, laying down suppressive firepower and smoke screens to conceal their movements. Gunners and soldiers outside the danger zone will identify enemy positions, provide precise suppressive fire, and aid soldiers in their assault on the objective. While Hamas will employ guerrilla warfare tactics, utilizing tunnels to target the weaker rear armor of the Merkava, specifically focusing on the doors used by infantry soldiers to enter. This rear section is notably less fortified compared to the front and sides. So stay tuned and don't miss a beat. Let's examine the distinct stages of military strategies adopted by each group. In Stage 1, Israel is faced with navigating an asymmetrical battlefield environment. Initially, the IDF will deploy several drones to survey the battlefield environment for nearly a week. These drones will identify potential targets for airstrikes, which will be executed from an F-16 fighter jet using JDAM's bombs or Joint Direct Attack munition, typically laser-guided to incapacitate or destroy suspected infrastructure. In the following Stage 2, the IDF initiates the deployment of specialized forces into Gaza. Special forces act as forward observers, communicating with the fire and command center. These highly trained soldiers are tasked with establishing longitude codes crucial for guiding the self-propelled guns or directing artillery fire. This includes the deployment of the Iron Sting shell and missiles mounted on tracked vehicles. Just like this short animation shown here, the soldier inputs precise longitude codes and loads the Iron Sting round into the launcher tube, triggering detonators upon impact with the firing pin, activating the propellant charge. More charges mean greater travel distance as the propellant launches the Iron Sting, guided by fins and sections, effectively targeting stationary structures like small bunkers. The front fuse activates the warhead, penetrating concrete layers before detonating inside reinforced bunkers in delayed mode. This is Stage 3, the most dangerous part of the battlefield, requiring regular infantry soldiers to be deployed in Namr Infantry Fighting Vehicle (IFV) can carry around 8 fully armed soldiers. This Israeli vehicle was initially based on the Merkava Mark I chassis and incorporated concepts from the Merkava Mark IV. In this animation, the Merkava tank acts as a lead vehicle while the Namr carries infantry soldiers. For now, let's take a look at how soldiers are trained and react to an ambush. As the squad conducts operations, it may encounter a near ambush while mounted. The actions taken by the squad are determined by its distance from the enemy at the time of the ambush. Step 1. Gunners in the kill zone immediately return fire and deploy vehicle smoke while moving out of danger. Step 2. Soldiers in disabled vehicles in the kill zone immediately obscure themselves from the enemy with smoke, dismount if possible, seek cover positions, and return fire. Step 3. Soldiers in the kill zone assault from the ambush and destroy the enemy firing from the buildings. Gunners and soldiers outside of the kill zone identify enemy positions, place well-aimed suppressive fire, and support soldiers assaulting the objective. Step 4. The unit leader calls for and adjusts indirect fire and requests close air support in accordance with established tactical procedures. The unit leader reports the contact to higher headquarters, conducts consolidation and reorganization, and continues the mission. Let's examine Israel's tank strategy and how it works. Coil formation. When operating independently, the platoon uses coil formation to establish a perimeter defense during extended halts or lulls in combat. The lead vehicle stops in the direction of travel, while the other vehicles position themselves to form a circular formation, covering all suspected enemy avenues of approach. Column formation. This formation offers excellent control and firepower to the flanks, but allows for less firepower towards the front. It is employed when speed is crucial, especially when the tank moves through restricted terrain along our specific route, or when enemy contact is unlikely, using the staggered column formation. Diagonal formation. The echelon or diagonal formation allows for powerful firepower directed towards one flank while covering the exposed flank of the platoon or a larger moving force. Wedge formation or V formation. The wedge formation allows for excellent firepower at the front and good firepower at the flanks. It's used when the platoon receives overwatch from another element while moving through open or rolling terrain. When the platoon leader's tank is slightly forward, one flank possesses more firepower. This line formation maximizes firepower directed forward, It's employed when the platoon is crossing danger zones and is supported by overwatch from another element, or when assaulting enemy positions. The herringbone formation is utilized when the platoon needs to quickly establish a defensive position with 360 degrees of security, while also maintaining readiness to resume movement in the original direction. Typically, it's used during planned or unplanned stops in a road march. If the terrain allows, vehicles should veer off the route and come to a stop at a 45-degree angle, enabling the passage of vehicles through the center of the formation. Let's take a look at Hamas' guerrilla warfare strategy under its belt. First of all, it has hundreds of miles of tunnels, with many levels one above the other. This creates a quick hit-and-run tactic, so let's take a look at how this strategy works. Step 1. Let's assume that this is the Merkava target for Hamas. Step 2. Remember the tunnels we talked about in our recent video? The guerrillas would come out of the tunnels with these anti-tank RPGs. Step 3. The Merkava has a trophy system, which works when the radar detects and classifies incoming targets. If the threat poses a danger, the countermeasure engages to neutralize it, keeping it away from the protected zone. This system is primarily designed to protect against anti-tank missiles, but it does have its weaknesses. It was reported that Hamas would fire the Al Yassin RPG at very close range to limit the trophy system radar to achieve its full potential. Step 4. They would also target the rear armor, that is, these doors for infantry soldiers to enter, which is substantially weaker than the front and sides. The second option of what Hamas would do is just hitting the tanks with RPG just below the turret to damage the tank or render it stationary. But Hamas is adopting unconventional warfare with this strategy. Step 1. They would launch multiple Qassam rockets to distract the IDF and overwhelm the Iron Dome with 4,000 to 6,000 rockets. This technique exhausts the Iron Dome missile system and creates a gap in the air defense capability. Step 2. These rockets are intentionally built at a very low price tag. They are built from scratch using readily available materials like sugar and fertilizer. Your first ingredient is sugar. Then melt it with the oxidizing agent, fertilizer, and mix well to form a slug, which is used as a propellant, and inserted into these tubes made from water pipes. This is the simple reason that enables Hamas to produce the $300 rockets at a large scale. Step 3. This is how Hamas uses the rockets. They can be fired from the east as a kind of distraction, while Hamas can move from the west around the battlefield or flank the IDF soldiers from the back. Let's take a look at how they improvise and plan using guerrilla tactics to attack Israel. With calculated precision, they employed explosives to shatter the formidable barriers that had stood in their way. Following this daring act, they swiftly sped across the border on motorbikes. Further enhancing their advance, bulldozers were deployed to widen the gaps created by the explosive breaches, facilitating the influx of even more fighters. These additional reinforcements made their entry into Israeli territory aboard four-wheel drives, steadily expanding their presence within the enemy's borders. The stage was set for a multifaceted and meticulously coordinated operation as they continued their mission deep within Israeli territory. This creates a shock and awe effect as the IDF was really unprepared.